You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 700 of the Dressage Radio Show, official podcast of the United States Dressage Federation on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Ride IQ. On tonight's show, we start with the Auditor book review of Horse Brain, Human Brain. After that, we are going to have a wonderful discussion about the new rules concerning bits with Beth Haist. And then Tony Sandoval starts the new year off right for our trainer tip.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Loxahatchee, Florida.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, hi, Phil. Can you believe it's our 700th episode?
I think that's a big number. That's, yeah.
I feel like we need a drum roll, a huge, it's great. The first episode of 2023, 700. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm loving it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You know, we haven't spoken in like 3 weeks, so I just wanted to
Did you miss me?
check in how you're doing. You know,
no, we did speak. We did. It makes everybody think we never talk. We did talk actually quite a lot, but not on the show. But yes, it's a new year, Phil. Are you ready for 2023?
No, not really.
I know it feels weird, doesn't it? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, normally this is a, kind of a tough time of the year for me. And it's, you always call me Grumpy Phil, but basically the days are very short and it's been very cold. We had a crazy, snowmageddon for the holidays, which put a real damper on.
I'm Canadian now.
Yeah.
I'm Canadian now.
Yeah. Anyone in like the mid to north US can now feel free to come up and join Canada, because you got your very cold temperatures. So that was, I've
never felt anything like that. It was negative 25 wind chill in Kentucky. I've never felt that. It didn't get above negative 10 one day. It was unbelievable. I know everyone has their own stories, but whoa. I mean, I was like, Phil, I'm Canadian. Literally all I texted was, I'm Canadian now. It's crazy. I know. It is. It's a little bit hard. I think, I finally made it to Florida. It's been an interesting trip, but also part of the holidays and the travel and all the kind of things. It's been crazy, but I think we're getting our sea legs underneath us. But it's starting to be people's kind of first lesson of the year, and that is here in Florida in person, but also I teach virtually as well. So I'm going to ask you, Phil, like what I've been asking everybody all year. What are your riding goals for 2023?
I'm not really sure. We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay,
so,
that's fair.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, what's happening here is that actually this is a time of year where I'm not thinking forward yet. I just got to be a little bit in the moment. So, and what I normally do is pull the spurs off, put the whips away, and then I've got to just get back to, riding some basics, basic reactions, basic patterns. Kind of starting from scratch, I sort of, put it like, I just get on. It can be very windy, as it's been, or, there can be a lot of snow falling out. So it's just like, try to get the horses to kind of focus but still enjoy their rides a little bit, if you know what I mean, like not push on them too much, but just like, over Christmas holidays, we crank up the Christmas tunes, we're just
love it.
Yeah. Just trying to spend some time, with positivity, not really goal oriented, just, making sure everything works, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I think it's, a good time because it's a hard, we had pretty decent weather till right before Christmas. Then obviously it wasn't, but same thing. Like I love that. We put up Christmas lights and all kinds of stuff just to get it out for the horses. I think that's fantastic. And, obviously now we have to have a little travel time. The horses have to get down here and settled and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And then, now we're starting to think, okay, now are some goals. We're starting to set some training schedules up now and starting to look at the show schedule. So that's pretty fun. But I have some horses I have really specific goals with, and then other horses, they're coming back from injuries, or one particular horse down here, I'd love to show him third level, but he's not quite ready. And then Big Mike has to really learn to passage down here before we show the I2. So, there's some definite training goals that we have. I think also with showing goals this year, I'm with you. I'm sort of formulating that, which I don't love that. I like to be able to say, I'm going to do X, but at the moment that's not possible. So with a couple of them. So I think that's okay. And we're just looking at training for a little bit, which is great fun to be in Florida and be able to train. That's why we come. So that'll be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Also, just trying to continue my fitness goals with Tony. I had a consultation with Tony, just talking about some things that, I feel like I've been making really good little changes. So I'm going to keep doing some little changes, which is great. So I like his approach of, a little bit each week. It adds up, which has been good for me. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to a great new year. We have new tests that are out, and we're going to keep doing some reviews on those, which will be fun. So we're just glad you guys are joining us. We want to wish you a very, very happy new year. And as you're formulating your own goals, we love it, and keep it up. So we've got a great show for you. We're going to come back after this commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products with our book club review from our book from horseandriderbooks.com.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Feeding your horse starch-laden grains can lead to colic, laminitis, and metabolic disease. Today, nutritionists are recommending the use of high-quality fat to provide healthy calories. Fat is an extraordinary energy source. It's readily utilized by the horse and contains more than 2 times the calories of starchy grains. Replacing grain with a high-quality fat supplement reduces a horse's risk of developing health problems. Equijewel Stabilized Rice Bran is an excellent fat supplement. It contains a balanced calcium to phosphorus ratio and won't cause mineral imbalances when added to the diet. Its all-natural ingredients are high in healthy fat and fiber. And best of all, horses fueled by Equijewel stay calmer and more focused on the job at hand. When you need to add healthy calories to your horse's diet, choose Equijewel. To learn more, visit Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, tonight we are so excited for our book review of our book club book, Horse Brain, Human Brain by Janet L. Jones. We have Gwynn on the line. Welcome, Gwynn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, we're thrilled, and you've gotten on the show, and we love it. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I have been riding on and off since I was little, but I just got my first horse last year. We just had our 1-year anniversary together on New Year's Day, which is a fun one.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
So I actually started listening to Horses in the Morning about 2 years ago when I first started kind of thinking about getting a horse. And then when I got my horse a year ago, she was barely halter broke. So I decided instead of pursuing hunter jumper, which is what my background is in, I would start with more dressage and groundwork basics. And then my friend got me into this show, and here we are.
Fantastic. And you're also an auditor. So we'd like to thank you for that. And you can tell us like how long you've been an auditor, why you like that program.
Yeah. So I started listening to Horses in the Morning about 2 years ago. And I think I became an auditor like 4 or 6 months after that. So my friend is an auditor. She's the one who told me about Horses in the Morning in the first place. So I started listening, and then she was always like screenshotting pictures of the Facebook group and like funny memes that would go around. And I'm like, oh man, that's fun. And then listening to Horses in the Morning, they're like, and now we're going to tell a funny story for auditors. Bye bye. And you're like, I want to hear this story. So that's how they got me. And I've been hooked ever since.
Well, that's great. I like. Should we give your friend a shout out?
Yeah, Kelly Ald, also known as OB Ovation, because her Facebook got stolen, so she had to create another Facebook account under her horse's name that nobody pronounces right. It's OB. Thanks, Kelly, for making me spend more money than I intended.
Well, we love it that you spend money with us. No offense, but first, because you're kind of have your first horse, and I love that story that you've been doing that in the last year. Tell us a little bit about how this book was kind of helpful, because it actually was really interesting, I thought. What do you think about the book?
Yeah, it was so interesting. One of the things I really liked about it in general was just that it was really user friendly. Like, I'm an accountant. I took a psych class in college, but that's about the extent of my understanding of the human brain. But it was really understandable for somebody with no background in it. So I loved that. And then just so many different parts of the book, like one part where it's talking about what the horse sees. Like, obviously their eyes are on the side of the head, so like they don't see exactly the same way we do, but then you don't really think about it or acknowledge it. And I remember at one point I had to do a lot of training to get my horse comfortable in the wash stall, but the wash stall is like, she goes in, she faces the open wall, and then there's just white concrete walls all around her, like 10 feet high. And I'm like, why is she so, skittish and weird in here? She's fine everywhere else. And I was just like, okay, we just have to desensitize this. It's for whatever reason she doesn't like it. And then I'm reading this about how, like, she basically can't see anything except blank white walls, like floor to ceiling. And people are walking by her. There's kids that she can't see. I'm like, no wonder you're skittish. You're just blind. And there's just all these like people touching you and talking to you and walking by that you know are there but can't see them. Like, that would be terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it was, I've kind of am interested in reading articles generally, more science-based stuff. And so, for me, this book brought together, a lot of what I kind of learned from my parents and learned from coaches and trainers and all of this, and brought it into a science-based, fact-based talk in which, you can explain, like you said, about the eyes and how differently they see, and how, right down to, the cellular level with like how they see differently, right? So, and it kind of brings your attention to those aspects of horse training. Is like, you got to kind of put yourself in the shoes of a horse, but you have to have, the explanation of, how they see. That's how the book starts. How do they see? How do they hear? Well, another thing that was kind of interesting in that part of the book is like, you just assume they're horses. Everybody hears and sees better than us as humans, but they actually don't, right? They can directionally hear and see much better. They have much more expansive vision, but they can't specifically see and hear more specific things. And so that was like all of the sound and all of the sights come to their eyes, and then they have to interpret it differently. And because of the way their brain is built, they basically, everything that they don't understand, they just run from. They just get away from. That's how they're built, and that's how they've survived so long. So no wonder horses are, we put them in our environment, like, oh well, you can see that fine. We're 10 feet from it, but they really can't. And so, that brings more understanding to the interactions and the training that's gonna happen.
Yeah. And I especially like following up on that is the fact that like they don't have a prefrontal cortex, which is basically where all the decisions are made. So they're getting all of this input, and there's no part of their brain being like, I wonder what that new smell is, or I wonder, which cat is crawling up there in the corner. They're just like, movement, go. Snap movement with no thought process in between, which makes me less mad at my horse for several instances.
No, but I think it's true. And actually my father's an eye doctor and my sister's an ophthalmic technician. And so is my mom. So eyes are kind of a big part of my world, from a human level. So I actually quite enjoyed learning about the eyes of horses and how, they adapt to like dark to light, or, when to color. I thought that was really interesting because I think we don't think about it that way. And a lot of times, like even at the U.S. national finals, right, the horses have to go into a stadium with different light. And a lot of horses freak out when they have to do that, or Friday Night Lights, when the horses sort of warm up and a little bit darker and then go into a huge stadium with lights. Like that is really hard for them. And they have to learn that skill because they're not seeing it the same way we're seeing it. So I also thought that was really, really interesting. And it does give you a little better perspective on how horses are and why sometimes when you're training horses that they may be funny with the way that the way of changing or different proprioceptional things because of the colors. I thought it was fascinating. It's an interesting read, I think, for any horse person. And it doesn't matter if you're a dressage person or not. Wouldn't you say?
No. Yeah. I also think like the general overarching theme of the book, I feel like, is just to have more empathy for horses. Like they smell so much more. They see movement so much more, but colors and definition so much less. Like they don't have a decision, a defined decision-making center of their brain. And if they do, we haven't found it yet. And it's not as prominent as ours. And, they have so many blind spots. Like there's so many things. I'm like, man, I really, we all got to just be nicer and lower our expectations and be more appreciative of the fact that horses have no right letting us do any of the things that we do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's so much trust that needs to be put into a human for a horse to be ridden and whatever, because like you said, they have no prefrontal cortex. So they have no planning skills. They're just very much in the moment and can be frightened by any number of things. And, and they just have to rely on us and just through training and positive training techniques. You can teach a horse to do almost anything. I've seen so many different things, trick riders and whatever. And it's just so amazing.
They're so generous.
Yes. Yeah. And the other thing that she was talking about is about like horses, they're not governed by emotions like riders are. And a rider has a chance to make a plan and, daily to facilitate training. But a horse has no idea of your plan, and it's shown in like the way their brains work. They can't make a plan. So sometimes we say, oh well, he just he did that because yesterday I did this and whatever. But they have no planning skills. It's just they're reacting to your previous training is built on day by day, but that's about it. They aren't, they don't hate anyone and they don't not hate anyone. Like it's just there's no emotion, no planning, no reasoning really, other than just all of these stimulus is just coming at them all the time. So we owe them a lot to that they are, their ability, their superpower is that they're trainable and they, throughout their entire lives, they're just looking to find ways to please riders.
Yeah, I also loved, like right towards the beginning, she was talking about how, both horse brains and human brains never stop developing and changing and growing new connections and getting rid of old connections. And I think that's really important, especially for like retired horses, to remember like they can still be learning things, they can still be unlearning things. So just because maybe he's not riding anymore or not competing at the same level doesn't mean you can't still have fun with him, or doesn't mean he can't still learn bad habits if you let that slip. And I thought that was really interesting, both in a good way and a bad way.
Yeah, no, I think that was a great point. How horses change and adapt. And I think it was really cool. I agree with you. I think it's really they're fascinating creatures, and we work on them all the time as we're training them. But at the end of the day, like really working on all the other things is so important. So I love it. Is there anything else that you wanted to to tell other people about this book?
It's an awesome book. I have it full of, there's like 50 sticky notes in it that I've already been like looking back at them and like, oh yeah, that was a good point. And, oh yeah, that's a good quote to remember for later. So definitely, I feel like it's going to be one of those books that I'm going to read like 3 or 4 times and get more out of every time. So really looking forward to maybe revisiting it next year and then getting more empathy for Sophie again.
No, I think you're right. I think this is a book that, like that I've been reading it. But there are times where I'm like, gosh, I should really go back. And what did she say? And how will that affect this particular horse? So I agree. So one more time, the book is Horse Brain, Human Brain by Jana L. Jones, The Neuroscience of Horsemanship. So I love it. And Gwynn, thank you so much for your time and being an auditor of the Horse Radio Network. That's how we pick people to come on and review. We put it on the Facebook page. So if you ever want to be a part of it, that's how you do it. But again, Gwynn, thank you so much. And we wish you and Sophie lots of luck in 2023. Happy New Year.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Wow. We want to thank Gwynn again for her time and coming on and reviewing the book. And we also want to thank horseandriderbooks.com, www.horseandriderbooks.com. They are fantastic and they are great supporters of our book club. And we hope you all enjoyed.
The Horsemanship Radio podcast is dedicated to the advancement of great horsemanship throughout the world. Monty Roberts often stops by to present on this podcast, hosted by his daughter and legacy strategist, Debbie Roberts-Laux. The show includes segments, tips, and interviews exploring effective training centered on the well-being of the horse. This multiple award-winning podcast has 1.6 million downloads to date. HorsemanshipRadio.com, sponsored by Hands On Gloves and Monty Roberts University.
As a listener of the show, you might have heard us talk about Ride IQ. Ride IQ is a new concept for equestrian, and it presents a really cool opportunity. The opportunity for you to take a lesson with a top coach anytime you'd like. Here's how it works. Ride IQ is a mobile app for iPhone and Android with hundreds of on-demand listen while you ride audio lessons taught by top coaches across dressage, eventing, even the natural horsemanship and sports psychology. In fact, I'm one of the coaches you can take lessons with Ride IQ if you're not already tired of my voice. Whether you're looking to add structure to your rides, try new exercises, or build confidence, Ride IQ can help. With Ride IQ, you won't be waiting for your in-person lessons to make progress. You can make exceptionally productive rides on training days as well. Every membership automatically includes a 2-week free trial. After that, membership is just $29.99 per month. Because you're a Dressage Radio Show listener, you'll get $15 off your first payment after the free trial. Just go to rideiq.com to sign up and use the code DRS to get your discount. That's rideiq.com and promo code DRS to start having the most productive schooling rides you've ever had. Well, tonight we are so happy to have Beth Haist from The Horse, of course, on the line. So, Beth, it is December 1st or pretty close to December 1st while we're recording this, and there's some new rules that are coming on. And being the president of The Horse, of course, and you do a lot of bit fitting, we wanted to talk about what are some of the rules that will be impacting TAC in the next cycle, because this is coming up and this is really important. We've been kind of talking about it, but it is going into effect December 1st, right? That the French link snaffle will be illegal, right? Or is illegal as of now, right?
I know,
so
it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk about
when
that.
you think about it.
Yeah. So can you tell everybody a little bit about this bit and why it's illegal, et cetera?
Okay. The French link snaffle was designed, God knows how long ago, by some classic dressage person, and it was the most revolutionary bit ever made. The centerpiece was small enough, and the holes in that centerpiece took up almost the whole center thing, the whole centerpiece, and it probably was no bigger than I don't know, 1.25 inches, maybe. And the object of that was the horse, no matter how much pressure was put on the bit, the horse owned that center portion of the bit, and they could place that center portion where it was comfortable in their mouth. And this was such a classic, but people didn't understand what went into that to make it the most perfect bit. And so they lost the design and they lost the understanding of what made the bit so great and started just making things that said they were a French link, but had no resemblance to a French link whatsoever. So finally, they had to say, enough is enough, I guess, and we're not going to let this be legal because there's no consistency.
Yes, that makes
So
sense.
the bit, I think, originally was designed to really give the horse more comfort by lying
absolutely
flat on the tongue, because it
didn't actually, the holes took up the whole thing. So the horse could actually play with it and put it in a place because it was tiny and the holes were big, and the horse could move it around and place it where it was comfortable in their mouth, that centerpiece. And then also, like a regular snaffle, it was longer in the side pieces, and the French link was shorter, so there was less pressure, a much softer bit, and the horse owned the centerpiece of that bit. It was classic.
As opposed to maybe what traditionally what I know as a Dr. Bristol, which is a very harsh bit, right?
Yes, and if you look down at a Dr. Bristol, it's a plate, and the plate angles toward you, and then the more pressure, the more angled it is on the tongue, and puts quite a bit of pressure on the tongue. It's not a nice bit. I mean, the French link is so soft and beautiful. And
but it's all in, kind of the length of that centerpiece, and
yes.
what engineers were maybe not on purpose, like the cheaper ones were just made to look like a French link, and then the more expensive ones were made to act like a Doc Bristol. So some of it was intentional, and some of it was.
I think they just lost the original design.
Yeah,
I think that's really what happened. Is they had no idea in the end what they were manufacturing, because they had no idea what the bit looked like to begin with. That had metamorphosized itself to a point that nobody remembered what it was like, what it should look like, and that's pretty sad.
Yeah. When you talk about bits, and I have been to the Hermspringer bit factory, so I will say that. But what's so interesting about that is that's very different than, I mean, when you go there, they're artisans that literally go through these bits step by step. You see why they're so expensive because of how they're kind of handcrafted. But I think where you got into trouble with any bit, and I think pay attention to this when you're purchasing a bit, right? When you are buying typically a German company, there are other companies, but the quality is really quite good. But they're more expensive, and you're getting what you pay for, essentially, right? Versus something that's $20.
I think you get quality control.
Mm-hmm.
You get quality control, and the reason that Springer and a couple of the other ones, maybe one other one, is expensive is because they have better than 70% copper content. Copper is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But copper warms to the temperature of a horse's mouth and becomes more neutral. So that's why you choose a copper bit over a non-copper bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the quality control. So every time you buy a particular bit, it's going to be exactly the same as it was before.
Yeah.
Where you can't say that about a lot of the stuff that, I mean, for example, if you took a regular snaffle and you cut the link in the middle in half, and let's say you didn't want to spend the money to cast both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So you only cast one side and then you linked it together. Well, you no longer have a snaffle anymore. You now have an anti-lugging bit because they didn't understand that when you hang it in half, it's supposed to be even.
Mm-hmm.
So it's things like this and the quality control that are really kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting what you're paying for. You're not even getting, I don't know what you're getting. You're getting an entirely different bit, which is what USEF was faced with.
Right.
In this French link situation.
Right.
Is that anybody could throw a name on it, but that didn't mean that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that was the problem, and they've struggled with this over many years.
Yeah. So definitely check your tack room and look and see, because some of these are just hanging around. I know there's been a kind of a campaign through a lot of officials that have been kind of walking around and kind of telling people, but, just kind of keep an eye on your tack room for sure. But there's some other,
and like we've always said is that, the best thing to do is maybe you were riding a new horse with an old bit, or, you found a bit that it might work for the horse. I mean, that's not what we're saying, but for it to be legal, like, you should check, at the first competition of the year and say, I just want to check that this bit is going to be legal for me to ride today, later in the day, and whatever. And then and the official at the show will say, yep, that's legal, or no, that's not legal. And bring something else with you so that you can still show. But I think this is going to really be a headache for officials and riders, next year.
I think checking with the TD on arrival is the most important thing they could be doing.
Yeah.
So just to make sure, if anybody wants to send me a picture of their bit, they can send it to me at beth@thehorseofcourse.com, and I'll be glad to tell you whether you can show in it or not.
Right.
And if I don't know, I'll reference you to somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what stewards are there for. That's what really, truly, stewards are really there for, for help. They really are. You want to go see them ahead of your ride, not after your ride. After your ride, they can't do much for you. Yeah. Too late.
You're already eliminated, right? Because you rode your test in front of a judge, and it was an illegal bit. So it's not gonna,
right.
But
that's anything. If you or have a pair of spurs, or, whatever it may be, go ahead when you're checking in that day or before your ride. That's what they're there for. And they will help you, or they'll just say, no, it's not illegal. That's not right. And this is why. So,
I think you can't look at them as, you have to look at them as somebody that's really there to help you.
Yes.
You and I talked about that when we talked about show clothes.
Yes.
That you need to understand that the judge is there to help you. And the comments that you get from the judge is because they're trying to give you some positive feedback and some help.
Yeah.
And you can't look at it as, they're not there to help you. They are.
Right. I love it. So there are a couple more, right? That are.
There's one more that I'm aware of, and I just heard about this fall, and it's a curb bit, and they've been out there I think they've been legal for 40 years, and it's got a mouthpiece, but the side cheek pieces actually spin around, and that has become illegal. And it's not one of the hunting bits, like it swivels in and out. It actually goes all the way around. Is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. And actually, my sister, long ago, you put her horse in this. We're talking many years ago now. And it was a great bit. So yes, exactly.
But I think its place. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't know what happened that they now made that illegal. I don't have any input from that. I'd love to know why they did it, but even so, I mean, you can't use it, so that's the end of that. But,
it's the end of that,
it has been legal for like 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and anything else that's coming through those were kind of the big ones. Anything else that we need to be paying attention to?
Not as far as those are the two big things, and I think that people bits. I mean, a French link, for crying out loud. Everybody's gone to the tax shop and walked in the door and said, "Give me a French link," and they hand it to you, and off you go.
Right.
So there's an awful lot of them out there, and I think that you need to be paying attention because it could bite you.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
And so that's not that's something that's going to affect an awful lot of people. I don't think the curb is going to affect you as much on a lot of people.
Yeah.
They, we didn't sell a whole ton of them, but we sold lots of French link snaffles. And you have to remember that the French link was the forerunner to our 3-piece snapples with the little nugget in the middle now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where that came from. That was an evolution.
Right.
You know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So and even on that, you've also got some situations where those are really not consistent. So who knows where that's going to go in the future?
Yeah, interesting.
You know?
For sure.
Because we have people, there's people making bits that have no idea what the bits should be like.
Right.
There's no following there's no book out there that says, hey, this is what a French link should look like. This is what a Moore's lot should look like, and this is how it's designed. Those people are long gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And they aren't around anymore. And it's going to be a few of us that kind of keep things kind of going in the classical understanding of bits.
Right. Right. Excellent. Well, Beth, how can people find you online if they have questions on some of these new changes?
Just contact me, Beth, at thehorseofcourse.com.
Fantastic.
And I will
thank
try
you
to
so
get
much.
to each and every one of them.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Listen, have happy holidays.
You as well.
Thank you.
Well, we are so excited to have one of our favorite guests back, Coach Tony Sandoval, getting us ready for 2023. Tony, when did that happen?
It's going to happen when it's going to happen. I don't know why I got here so fast, but here we are.
I know. It feels like it was just the summer and now it's almost the holidays. It's crazy. So, but we're super excited. We're going to talk about kind of goals for 2023. So I'm going to let you take the reins.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite times of the year. Obviously, for every trainer, we try to get our clients in the best possible position so that they can have awesome years where awesome seasons, I should say, where they're healthy, they're strong, and they're reaching all of their performance goals. So in strength and conditioning, we call this phase our off-season phase, because even though it's never really off-season for equestrians, more like a little bit of downtime, but this is out of the whole year, the time where you can invest in yourself and then let your horses maybe take it a little easier before the tables turn. And now the horse is in full training, getting ready for the season. And then a lot of people start to now take away some of their time for themselves and apply more time towards their horse. So for me, it's a great time to help people invest energy in themselves to prepare for the season.
I love it. It's true. It's coming. And I think you're right. I mean, it's a time that we also look with horses. Okay, what are the goals for 2023? So I love the idea of goal setting for ourselves and fitness and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm a tough customer, everybody. Let's be real. Poor Tony has to really work with me. And I'm not easy, but I push back a lot. I'm the naughty horse that doesn't want to do what I'm told, but it's kind of true. He's laughing because it's true. Yeah. But I love this because one of the things you're specifically good at and have been really good with me is setting sort of small, realistic goals that I can achieve. So when we're talking about sort of fitness and that type of thing, talk to us about that. How can we set some goals that we can actually achieve? Because that's important.
Yes. So, right. So, first and foremost, there's the principle that I always adhere to is always making sure that you present a plan or talk about a plan with someone that is going to be very specific to where they're at in their fitness journey. Some riders and some athletes are a lot further along, and then some of them are very early stages, just trying to maybe add this to their training for the year because they feel like this is the missing link, or hey, it's time to now invest in myself. Wherever you are, there has to be a plan that is set for you, because if you just go and hop around social media and go, okay, I'm ready for fitness for riders, let me see who this person has for me, let me see what that person has for me, it is a recipe for disaster, because nothing is targeted to what your goals are and where you're starting. So first and foremost, always try to find a resource where they're going to meet you where you're at. That way, the goals are, whatever they may be for you, they are very clear, and then you can have a plan that is working specifically towards your goals. Now, when I say the goals, everybody will have different goals depending on their training programs that they've had in the past. Some may be, hey, I need to get stronger at X, Y, Z. So very specific. Some may be, I just want to be able to, be fitter. It's very broad, because then they themselves don't have very specific goals. Because they don't know how to use the tool of strength and conditioning or of fitness. They don't know what they don't know. So everybody, I guess it's a natural thing that people do. You just become very broad. So I would say step number one is look at your riding and see if there's something specific physically that you think if you were stronger in X, that would help your riding. And I'm speaking just very specific to improving your performance. There's an improving your fitness component, and that's fine. But I always like to put people in positions where you're improving your performance, because that's the carrot that I think people will go for, because more people will do things for their horse or to benefit their horse than they will themselves. So I kind of use that to help motivate you at first, to get you going on setting some goals. So how can you be a better partner for your horse? If your horse is struggling with this, what do you think you can bring to this partnership that can ease the horse's pain or help them in whatever lagging areas that they have, that you won't be a burden, you're going to be a benefit. And then people start going, yeah, that's what I want. Okay, well, let's set some goals up for that. So once you get that part down, that's tip one, right? Just to reiterate, set goals for performance, because that usually will help people when they don't have specific goals. Just how do you want to ride in 2023 that you feel being physically fitter can help? And then number two, it's always starts with the basics. I feel like if I went into any dressage barn at some point there, I would run into some type of poster that would have the German training system triangle up there. And you would have the foundations, and it would go all the way up. And in human training, and I never use human, the word human when I talk to riders, because it's a horse or human. But in humans, it is the same thing. You always have to start with the foundation. So the second tip would be make sure that you start with the sound foundation of walking for cardio, because that would be like hacking for humans. And then doing movements that are going to provide you for stability and mobility. So maybe doing some type of class or having a program that improves the stiffness that you may have gotten to from not doing anything. Maybe you're not riding as much. Maybe you're not working out as much. So you want to start by moving and walking. Walking also, side note, is great to start reducing the stress throughout your life. Because if you're adding a stressor, which is fitness, to a body or a brain that already has the stress of life going on, the workout itself is something that could tip the organism over and be too stressed to get any type of benefit from working out. Because whether it's psychological or perceived or physical, like working out, stress is stress. So we have to find ways to lower our stress. And something very easy and manageable is to walk. Even if you just sign up to a gym and just go walk for 20, 30 minutes every other day, or whatever time you have allotted for your fitness, that's a great way to start setting up your foundation. Walking. 2, mobilize and stabilize things. So work on balance. So if it's the Pilates, if it's yoga, go to the classes that you feel are going to be at your level. Get body work done. Start getting some tissue quality to improve. So getting massages. It doesn't have to be sport. It can be something therapeutic. It can be anything that you feel it lowers your stress and improves the tissue quality of your muscles. Because if you have good muscle quality, if your stress is lower and you start building a foundation of cardio by walking, now you can set yourself up for the next level, which is now actual strength training, resistance training, getting to a proper workout routine.
Yeah, I think that's really good overall. What I was thinking about while you were talking is just how throughout in my lessons we come against horses and riders that have very specific issues within the movements. So for example, a very tough movement for a lot of people is to make half pass equal in both directions, right? So then as a coach, I'm sort of identify which is the weaker leg, and I can say to a person, hey, we know what would make this easier or to help your horse, like that psychology of how are we going to help the horse improve, or what might bring you an extra 0.5 in your scores on your right half pass is if you develop a little bit more strength and effectiveness with that left leg. Let's just say the left leg is a little bit of a problem, and then so I try to identify a specific leg or arm or something that they can go to a gym, they can go to a trainer, they can search online, like how am I going to build a better, stronger hamstring in training? And then they're not. So I'm not just saying, hey, go work out, but like, here's what's going to help us with our half passes is you need a little bit of a stronger hamstring to help encourage the horse more away from that left leg. And then people have a little bit of a picture of, and they come back to their next lesson and we say, okay, let's, it's usually a week away, but let's take a look at that. Have we been able to improve your hamstring strength with that left leg? And, can we make a better half pass today? And normally, they're going to go ahead and they're going to do it. And we're going to get, some positive results, and that just feeds back into itself. But just to say, oh, you need to just do more half passes, that doesn't help somebody to achieve better half passes or whatever it is. There are some specific muscle groups that need to be activated to be able to fix a problem.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I've been mulling over this scenario a lot in my head recently, and it's the idea of the hobbyist and the person that goes and competes and goes to shows. Regardless of where you're at and what you decide that you want to do with your equestrian, we'll call it career, you still have to devote time to your physicalness, because even if golf is my hobby, I don't want to go out and do a hobby wrong or suck at it. I want to work at it, so at least it's bringing me joy in the sense that I'm on this journey. I'm getting better. It's a new sport. I love the ups and downs. There's way more downs than there are ups, but the few ups keep me coming back for more. But I do the physical stuff. I stretch. I do all the things. So I think a lot of times when I talk about fitness, I'm trying to use examples, and I'm trying to use goals or paint a picture that both a hobbyist and a person that goes out and shows can both latch onto and go, yes, I get that. That's why when I come into every situation, it's let's build your foundation first, because even if you did the foundation, you're still going to be better on your horse or when you come back to start riding again. Then we get to the next level, which is kind of sort of where you're going now. Phil, where you're starting to talk about more specific things in your writing. Well, now that we built a foundation, now you can start implementing some strength training to this hamstring if we stay with that example. But now we know that A, the hamstring has good tissue quality, B, that the stress level overall is low, and C, with the cardio that you've built on, you can handle more work on that hamstring. So you don't get tired after one set of exercise and go, oh, that's it. That's all I got. Well, yeah, your cardiovascular was so low because you had no foundation of fitness. So now at this next level, now you can address the hamstring, the hip, your obliques, whatever you're working on that can help that half pass. Now you're able to do that. And I think people get very discouraged when you skip the foundation because that's not sexy. You're not going to get that on Instagram. I'm sorry, that doesn't get likes when I post those up there. But you know what will? My cool little exercises that look flashy and oh hey, I mean I'm guilty of this as well. I put up a sign, hey, you rotating in your seat, try this exercise. And maybe I should put in parentheses, in large parentheses, make sure you've gone through your foundational portion of your fitness because this won't work if you don't. But I want the likes and I want the follows. So again, I am part of that. I am sorry, guys. I apologize.
It's the same in horses, though, Tony. I mean, people want to ride Piaffe and Passage. Well, there's so many steps that are gonna. I mean, that's fun. We all want to ride that. Do you want to do hours of work sitting trot with no stirrups? No, but I mean that's how you will eventually go to Piaffe and Passage. So I think it's really similar, right? And for sure, that isn't sexy. But I think that's where, at least before I met you, that's 100% where I was overwhelmed because I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, this is too overwhelming for me. And I'm the kind of type, and we've talked about this before on the show, which is awesome. You know, we did a type of how my brain works. And so if I get overwhelmed, I'm just not going to do, I'm just like, I'm out. I can't do it. So it has to be fun. And I have to hit little achievable marks and then I'll eventually get there, you know, and now, you know, we've been working together over a year and, for you, I'm sorry. But you know, I'm starting to feel why we're doing it. And I'm starting, my body feels better. And once it starts to become a really helpful cycle. You know, I'm like looking forward to going to Florida and walking with my friends. You know, I think you see it's the same in horses and it's the same in any sport or really music, anything that takes practice, you know, and I think that's really the way you do it. And really don't think it's January 1st. It's a new year. I'm going to go run 3 miles. Well, you ain't going to make it. And if you do, you're going to hate yourself the next day, you know, but maybe go walk find a walking group and walk for 30 minutes. Like that's a doable thing. And maybe by the end of the year, you can run your 3 miles. So
that's exactly it. It all has to be, it goes back to that principle is know where you're at, where you're at with your training and don't be afraid or embarrassed that, you know, you're starting at block 0 because that's just a starting point. It's not where you finish, right? That whole, I know it sounds very cliche, but it's never how you start, it's how you finish. And to me, I've gained to appreciate that coming from a sports culture, you know, in college and with pros, where now I am working with more of what you would consider more of the layman or the private sector and appreciating the growth that people have. I find more joy in having someone that has never worked out and then they get to a point where it's a huge milestone for them to do whatever they're doing, but maybe to someone else that was like, it took it a week for me to do that. But this person took a year, but it's gratifying to me because they would have never worked out and they were so intimidated, you know? And to me, that's how you keep it a sustainable habit. And when you're starting off with these small goals, first my foundations, then I'll go into now getting my workout in. But we get too impatient, right? We're in a society where we want it. This guy is posting something about it's 6 weeks and I'll be a Grand Prix rider. I'm going to do that program. And it doesn't take 6 weeks. I'm glad that you mentioned that we've been working for a year, and for that year, we've had these specific goals. Maybe if we compare our goals to anyone else, that wouldn't be fair. Our goals are our goals, and we're accomplishing them. And that's the journey that you're on. And so I would never push anything on anyone that was not specific to their goals. And I feel like even moving to the next step of this, now that you have maybe your specifics down, is that the goal has to be important for you, and it has to be manageable, meaning you and your coach talk about what is feasible for me to work on as how many days I can invest in this journey and what are the resources that I have towards this. Then that way you can have a goal that is obtainable. Because if you're going, I want to do this and I want to do this many pounds of fat loss and I want to be this strong, I want to do all the things, but I only want to work out maybe 30 minutes a week. It's not bad. The 30 minutes a week is great. It's better than zero. But let's readjust our goals so that we can be successful with the 30 minutes a week that we have available. That way people don't get bummed out and quit when they don't reach the ultimate goal that they had, but only had so much to invest, because we can still get to that ultimate goal. It's not going to take 6 weeks. It might take a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I'm very
for me, it's going to take a couple of years.
Yeah,
I mean, for me personally,
I think that's really good. Is having an honest assessment and honest check-ins. Okay, well we're achieving our small goals that are gonna eventually lead us to the big goal. I don't know. Like we do this in the horse trainers. Like you invest in young horses that have the potential to kind of go all the way or whatever, but you have to start at square one, 3 years old, and eventually make it to PF Passage, maybe, right? I mean, you can't. But again, you're just kind of hitting some benchmarks, having some weekly, monthly, yearly benchmarks that are all like they all got to fall into place. And then sometimes stuff happens and life happens and whatever, and you get set back a little bit. That's no problem. You just come back into it, get back into the program. Maybe it's a rehab program here, there, everywhere, but you're always on you're always on a way to advance yourself, your horse forward, and not making unrealistic goals for your horse and yourself, and keep doing the check-ins, and that kind of thing.
That's exactly it. And then what you'll find out is if you follow these tips, it won't be just off season. Now you found a system that will sustain you for the season. You start recovering better. You're at shows and you're going, wow, before maybe I was doing one show every month, but now I feel like I can do, however many shows within a month. Or you're recovering better from the show. Maybe you don't have the Monday blues where, I had a show and now I'm feeling like crap. Well, you know what? Strong people, they recover faster. So Monday, let's go back to work. I had a show, but I'm not as tired. That's because just the body's been used to the work. There's so many benefits from it. But if you start at it from a very foundational piece, you stick with it longer. And now it's going into the mid of the year. Now towards the end of the year. Now you get to the end of the year and you're going, well, what's my goal for 2024? I'm a lot fitter. How much can I push the next year? And that's when it becomes this awesome thing that you've created for yourself, because even any trainer can put the plan in front of you. But the plan is only as good as you are at executing it. So for me, I'm building up, and I think a lot of trainers do as well, building up the person in front of us to give them the tools to be able to do that. It's the patience. And I think that's maybe the theme of this is you have to be patient to go through step 1, 2, and 3. But if you can, you'll have a very successful 2023 and you'll feel a lot better about your physicalness and what you bring to the partnership.
I love it. Oh, as always, Tony, you are the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You've been so helpful for me, and your methods just really resonate and work. And it is similar as I'm listening to what Phil's saying as we train horses. It's a very similar approach. It's a very slow, systematic approach. You hit one, you go to the next one, and I love it. And I thank you so much. And I personally look forward to 2023 and our goals together. But we thank you so much for coming on the show and helping all of us this is a huge part of riding. And, Phil and I both believe in that as well, as you really have to work on this. And especially as we get a little older, it's becoming more and more important in my life. So Tony, thank you so much. And how can our listeners find you online?
Like always, I had a great time being on here tonight. Listeners can find me on Instagram at Coach Sando Training, and the same for Facebook. And my website is CoachSandoTraining.com.
Fantastic. Have a great holiday season, Tony.
You guys as well.
Well, everyone, we love email and Facebook shout outs. Keep them coming. And if you have any suggestions for our new year and our shows, we're looking forward to 700 more. But keep them coming. We would love it. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think that the best way to find me is probably through Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors for allowing us to put on a good show. That's Kentucky Performance Products and Ride IQ. If you'd like to support our show and the Horse Radio Network, you can do that through the Auditor program found at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.